Hi, this is a quick video here just to show you the basic user interface on the Phoenix 330. Okay, starting from the top here, there's a row of LEDs down the left hand side of this display window, and using the up and down arrow keys you can change what this window here shows you, starting with amps, approximate metal thickness you could weld at that amps, wire feed speed, and time that the machine has run. Okay, going back through to amps. On the right hand window here, sorry, just knocked the camera, you've got volts, milliamp draw for the drive motor, gives you an idea of the indication of the state of your liner. Obviously the higher the current, the harder it's having to push the wire, the higher the amp's going to be. Job number that you're in, and the last is hold. That's where it will actually display the amps and the volts that you were welding at last as an average. Okay, I'm going to set that back to volts. Okay, right, in this column here we have your welding output type. You've got MIG brazing, hard surfacing, force arc, metal cord, flux cord wire, and rutile or basic flux cord wire, lift TIG mode or stick mode. Okay, and you scroll through the various settings with the button underneath. We're going to set this machine up for ordinary solid wire MIG, so we're back to the first function there, MIG. Okay, next is the material type: mild steel, stainlesses, copper silicons, copper alloys, your bronzes, and then you've got your three types of aluminium: Ali mag, Ali silicon, pure Ali. We're going to go for Ali mag. Next one down is our wire diameter. We've got a choice of 0.8, 0.9, 1 mil, 1.2 or 1.6, and then below that we've got special program 1, 2 and 3. I'll come back to these later. Right, I'm going to select 1.2, but if you wanted to change, just hit the button below and it'll scroll through. Now you may have noticed that the gas indicator is jumping around as we change various jobs. The machine will automatically go to the most likely gas that you're going to be using. Now we've told it we're doing MIG, we've told it we're doing aluminium mag, we've told it we're 1.2. More than likely we're going to be on argon, but we do have choices. We could go for argon, or we could go for an argon helium mix. Okay, but it won't let me go into CO2 or any of the argon CO2 mixes because we wouldn't use those for Ali, and the machine knows that. So I'm going to go to argon. Okay, from this point on we've now told the machine what we're doing in terms of output type. We've told it what material we're on, and we've told it what wire and what gas we're using. The machine now has an idea of what amps and volts to put out for a given setting. This is where we now go to our welding controls, and we can forget about everything down here. Starting at the top, we've got our wire feed speed, calibrated in meters a minute. This is a synergic machine, so as I alter wire feed speed, you'll notice amps rising and voltage rising accordingly. Okay, there we go. Now it's a logarithmic pot here, so the increments start off quite small. So you've got lots of control at the bottom end, and they get closer and closer the higher up the dial you go. Next one we've got down is our voltage control. This independently controls voltage of amperage and wire feed speed. And then lastly we have our dynamic control. Dynamic control controls the spread or the focus of the arc. There's a little pictorial diagram here just below which actually illustrates exactly what it's doing. If you go into negative on the dynamics, you'll actually spread the focus of the arc out and reduce penetration. If you go more into positive here, you'll pinch the arc up and increase penetration. Okay, both of which might have particular advantages or disadvantages depending on what you're doing. Okay, so if you want to start off welding and you're not sure what to do, go for an approximate metal thickness. Bear in mind this is based on a fillet. Okay, it's the one that takes the most energy to do, so the welding settings are nearly always a bit on the hot side. Okay, but let's say you had 2 bits of 5 mil Ali to weld together in a fillet. Set 5 mil or thereabouts. Okay, pull the trigger on a piece of scrap and go for a little test. If you find the wire isn't burning to your liking, if you'd rather have the wire sticking out a little bit further, have a shorter, colder arc, if you bring the voltage down, don't touch the wire feed speed, just bring the voltage down, it'll do exactly what it shows here. It'll reduce the arc length, give you more wire stick out and a shorter, colder arc. Okay, If you go the other way, if you prefer your arc to be a bit hotter, a bit longer, a bit more heat, bring the voltage up. You'll notice that the volts are moving here independently of metal thickness as I go up and down. Okay, each one of these settings is 1 volt, so +1, +2, +3, you get the idea. I'm going to set that back to 0. Lastly, if you're happy with your wire feed speed, you're happy with your voltage trim, you just want to play with the shape of the arc, you want to wet the edges out a bit better, or you want to focus the arc up a bit more, you can use your dynamic control. Okay.